On August the 7th, 2016, what should have been a fun family day out for the Schwab family turned into a harrowing nightmare when a thrill ride on the world's largest water slide ended in horrific disaster. Caleb Schwab, a young boy from Kansas, had one thing on his mind when visiting the Schlitterbahn water park, and that was to go on Verruckt, which at the time was one of the most impressive water slides in the world. What happened that day will go down in history as one of the most gruesome, if not the most gruesome water slide incident of all time. Out of all the cases I get recommended to do, this one is by far the most popular request, so without further rambling, let's get into today's video. This is the Verrückt disaster, the infamous death of Caleb Schwab. Caleb Schwab was born to parents Scott and Michelle Schwab in the state of Kansas on June 23, 2006. His father, Scott Joseph Schwab, was the 32nd Secretary of State of Kansas and previously represented the 49th District in the Kansas House of Representatives from 2009 to 2019. Caleb was one of 4 children and was described as an energetic, happy child who devoted most of his time to playing baseball for the local team named the Mudcats. He also played football for the Sporting Blue Valley Rec League and was well liked by pretty much everyone that knew him, and a star student at Heritage Christian Academy. At Heritage Christian Academy, his teachers described him as having great leadership skills and integrity. He also liked to play video games and read books. Unfortunately, on the 7th of August 2016, the Schwab family's life would take a horrific turn for the worse when the group decided to visit the Schlitterbahn water park in Kansas City. Schlitterbahn is a chain of water parks known for its innovative water attractions and thrilling rides. The original water park resort was found in New Braunfels, Texas in 1979 by Bob and Billy Henry, along with their children. In homage to New Braunfels' cultural heritage, they chose the name Schlitterbahn, combining Schlitter and Bahn, which was slippery and road. The Henry family annually expanded the resort with more rooms and slides, and by the 1990s, it covered 65 acres, offered hundreds of rooms, and had multiple attractions. Over the years, the Schlitterbahn empire expanded, first with its South Padre Island Park in 2001, and then with its Galveston Park in 2006. With both of these parks being in Texas, they decided they would expand their offerings to other states and opened a park in Kansas City, Kansas. The Kansas City branch was a 40-acre water park, which costed $180 million to complete, although the original development was supposed to be for $750 million. The park opened with 12 water attractions and a vacation village resort. Each park continued to expand, proudly pioneering new rides and technologies. Schlitterbahn introduced industry firsts like the Buggy Barn surf ride, Master Blaster uphill water slides, and tidal wave rivers, but this wasn't enough. They wanted to push the envelope even further, and in 2012, the Henry family revealed their ambitious plans for Verukt, the world's tallest and fastest water slide. Verukt is the German word for insane, and to say it lived up to its name was an understatement. Verukt stood at an intimidating 169 feet, or 51 meters, and when it opened on the 10th of July 2014, it was the tallest water slide in the world, but in my opinion, the ride was doomed from the start. The idea was conceived in 2012 by Schlitterbahn owner Jeff Henry and his partner John Schooley, who wanted to boost attendance at the Kansas City Park after its subpar launch a few years earlier. John Schooley was also a designer who had worked on slides in the past. He stated, "We pretty much built the ride in-house, from start to finish, with some outside consulting from safety experts and engineers." The foundation of the slide structure consisted of a steel tower, which had to be carefully assembled and engineered to support the immense height. A system of ladders and stairs was built to allow riders to access the top platform. Verukt featured an almost vertical drop, providing a thrilling experience for riders. The design faced challenges during early tests, as sandbags used as dummies for people gained excessive momentum on the first drop, catapulting far beyond the second bump. This prompted Schooley to make significant design adjustments which forced them to tear down most of the slide and start again. They redid the ride completely, however many were skeptical. People who tested the ride said it never worked well and always felt dangerous. Rafts would get stuck, people would get hurt, and according to one man, it was only a matter of time until someone died on Verrückt. A safety consultant even warned Henry that Verruckt was incomplete and unsafe before its planned opening. Despite this, Verruckt opened to the public on the 10th of July, 2014. As the park's website stated at the time, adventure seekers will be able to share this experience as they strap into a 3-person raft that will slide down a jaw-dropping 168-foot, 7-inch structure, only to be blasted back up a second massive hill and then sent down yet another gut-wrenching 50-foot drop for the ultimate in waterslide thrills. On a sunny and warm August 7th, 2016, Caleb Schwab attended the park with his father, Scott, his mother Michelle, and 3 brothers. Scott was a state legislator, and Schlitterbahn was offering free admission for Kansas elected officials and their families, so the group decided it would be a fun day out. Caleb was very excited to try out the ride, which by now was a fan favourite in the park. Once the family arrived, Caleb along with his brother Nathan wasted no time and ran towards Verukt to line up. Scott said to Caleb, "Look at me, brothers stick together," and they headed off, unknowing this would be the last thing he would ever say to his son. Caleb reached the height requirements, but at the top, the 2 brothers were split up onto different rafts to reach the weight requirements. Nathan went down first without a problem and waited at the bottom of the ride for his brother to come down. Caleb then boarded his raft with 2 sisters he didn't know who was sat behind him. The ride began and the group went down. They went down the first hill, reaching a speed of 70 miles per hour. On the second hill, the raft became airborne, causing Caleb to fly out of his seat. Unfortunately, Caleb flew into the net above, hitting the support hoop. This resulted in his instant death. His brother watched on below in horror, screaming. He ran to a worker and said, "I just saw my little brother die because of one of your attractions," before running off to find his mother. The park called emergency services and immediately closed off the area. After his parents heard of the news, they ran to the slide but were held back by park employees and members of the public. The other 2 women survived with injuries including a broken jaw and bone fractures. The park was then shut down for the day and an investigation was launched. After the incident, the park closed down for 3 days and the slide remained closed indefinitely. Initially, investigators were uncertain about the cause of Caleb's death on the ride. The incident appeared to be an unforeseen and rare accident. However, as investigators interviewed park employees and past riders, it soon became clear that it really could have been avoided. Investigators looked into the creation of Verruckt and highlighted what we covered before with the test rafts often flying off. They also learned that this was still a problem even after the recreation of the ride. They simply just put netting over the top to fix it. It also came to light that the state of Kansas allowed water parks to be self-inspected, basically meaning the construction and safety testing was entirely done by the park and not an external government body. Investigators and detectives from multiple agencies arrived at Schlitterbahn. A detective interviewed Tyler Miles, the park's director of operations, who claimed no knowledge of complaints on Verruckt. However, investigations revealed that employees had to file op reports with hidden problems. They found that 11 customers reported injuries on Verruckt between August 31st, 2014 and August 5th, 2016. This included incidents of rafts going airborne and causing head, neck, and back injuries. This is something Miles never mentioned. Miles also ignored maintenance reports about brakes, even when managers informed him to fix them. Jeff Henry, John Schooley, and the general contractor Henry & Sons Construction faced second-degree murder charges after a thorough investigation into the accident. Additionally, manager Tyler Miles was charged with manslaughter for concealing previous accidents at the park. In 2017, the Schwab family settled with the park for a sum of $20 million, and Scott used his power as a state representative to work on creating stronger regulations at amusement parks in Kansas. At this point, the case was still ongoing against the 3 men. It was clear negligence played a part in Caleb's death, and officers agreed. However, in 2019, all charges were dropped against the 3 men, as Judge Robert Burns stated due to the lax regulations in Kansas, the men hadn't broken any safety laws. The judge said, "The state's expert witness repeatedly referred to an engineering standards that were not required under Kansas law at the time Verukt was constructed, and that the same expert improperly referred to another death that occurred at Schlitterbahn Water Park in Texas in 2013. Quite simply, these defendants were not afforded the due process protections and fundamental fairness Kansas law requires." The park would later take down the slide, and that would be the end of Verruckt. A week after his death, friends and family assembled at Life Mission Church in Owain, Kansas, where Caleb's parents and 3 brothers were active members, to mourn his passing in a public service. His father spoke at a funeral saying, "When my kids were born, Nathan was my pleasure, Caleb was my joy, Alex was my delight, and Isaac was my treasure. We've lost Caleb, my joy, but we'll get it back." The room was full of Caleb's friends from various parts of his life, including the Mudcats, who paid tribute to his character. It was a fitting send-off which remembered Caleb for who he was and the impact he had on the world, and may he rest in peace. Let me know what you think about this case in the comments below. This is not an AI channel, I do all of this myself, the research, writing, editing, thumbnails, etc, and I upload every Thursday. So if you enjoy my work, make sure to leave a like and subscribe for more content, and I will see you in the next video. Thank you.